Lou Thesz faithfully defended his World Heavyweight Championship.
Rogers Strut.
Kowalski's got him right where he wants him.
Dory Funk Jr. wanting that World Heavyweight Championship.
10 pounds of pure gold.
Simon Felder's Dusty Rhodes has just become the World Heavyweight Wrestling Champion.
Presenting the greatest organization in wrestling history.
We always deliver on our promises at the National Wrestling Alliance.
Yeah, was pretty hard, and look at what are you gonna work now? Oh!
Hey everybody, it's Durger time. Thank you for joining me once again for another episode of Billy Corgan's NWA. We are here after our big show back, and it went pretty well, down but not out. Got a 57. Definitely better than our shows have been, though not nominally so, right? But overall, pretty good. Interesting conclusion to the show, though, with Ace Austin getting a double pinfall with Ron Killings, meaning no one really knows who won, but Ace Austin winning. Obviously, that kind of continues the Ron Killings story. Starks having a surprise loss and not being able to win against Johnny Power. Mickie James defeating Ramona Riot for the women's title. So a whole bunch of stuff going on here that we had. Of course, the Von Erichs defeating the Briscoes and the Ascension in a ladder match, which upset a bunch of people. And the Briscoes are now looking, or sorry, the Von Erichs looking to challenge for the titles once again. So, you know, we have a bunch of stuff. We have a lot of things we also need to try to reincorporate into the stories. There's a lot of people that we haven't really dealt with and we have to bring back in. So far, we do have some minor morale issues, but I don't think it's anything. Yeah, Pillman's upset about his botched turn to face. You know, we do have these left off the show issues that we have to deal with, but for the most part, everybody's fine. He's irritated about not being left off of Power. Hey, why do you care about one show, Pentagon? You're fine. A little needy, if you ask me. Now, what we do have to do, and we're probably going to do it right after the show, is we need to set up our Crockett Cup tournament. 16 teams. So we have a lot more teams than we normally have. We have a pretty good amount, but not all of them are going to be involved in the Crockett Cup. So, you know, we have Insanity, our Insanity ripoff. But are they going to be in it? I don't know. It doesn't really seem like their type of thing, right? But Outlaw Inc. could definitely be in it. Acclaim, Sleaze and Breeze, Briscoes. The Revenant aren't going to be because they are our tag champions right now. Paralegals have not debuted yet, so that's a spoiler. But so we have some open spots, and I've already filled them. So they're going to be a bit of a surprise once we set that up. And I think we'll set that up once we get all the contracts in, which will probably be in the next episode, and we'll start the tournament. It's going to be about probably a 2-month-long tournament as we go down the line and see who gets a shot at the championship and a contract with the NWA. So kind of a fun one. Always very popular here, and it's always nice to bring it back in. So I'm looking forward to that. Now, it is a new month. It is time to look at our finances and see what we really were working with. We were a little concerned about some of our production changes, and we had a big snafu the last episode where we did not set up that broadcaster, which we need to look at now. But without that, we still came in just a little bit cash positive. Not too bad. And that's including some expenditures, but the production costs definitely were going to hurt us. we are still getting hurt here, but we literally cannot go any further. It would be nearly insurmountable at this point to go higher than where we are at our level. It is just, I don't understand how these other companies are bleeding money like that, but they are. And we really can't boost our production quality that high. But we're only going to get a 2% penalty from just having one of those. So it's not the end of the world, but it's not great. We really don't want any negatives. But, with this situation here, if we were to increase this, it would cost us $75,000 per show, plus an extra $50,000 a month. Right now, we're sitting at $10,000 per show and $15,000 per month, which is a lot more reasonable, but still hella expensive. Okay, so we need to get to our broadcasting. We need to get our broadcasters set up because I do not want to lose that opportunity that we had before. It's a big snafu. Okay, so we do have Fight for events. So I must have done it immediately after air. I probably was just so pissed off. So right now we got Pop for Power. For as long as we're going to be on there, we'll see. I think we only have it set up, for a little bit of time. Fight a little bit longer. Ultimately, we would like to be in a better position to get a better TV show, but right now we're on Pop TV. It's not too bad. That's all right. We'll work with where we're at, and we're getting some eyes on there. Ideally, we probably would want a different type of broadcast or something with maybe a little bit more favorable to us. But overall, we're getting 30% of revenue generated from this deal. It's not great, but it could be better. Now we might be able to change the deal. If we were to cancel it, it would be rather costly, as you could see. It'd be like a $1.1 million contract. We are going to be out of that contract in 2 months, so not a big deal. And at that point, what we can do is we can start to look and see, is there anybody anywhere willing to work with us? As of right now, it's sort of slim pickings. Pop was nice because it was small sized, and previously we were in tiny, right? So like an Axis Ferry TV is a very small, which wouldn't be great. We wouldn't necessarily want that as our option there. That wouldn't really be the go ahead. Tough TV, tiny. So there's not a lot of options here. That we used to be on Mav TV a long time ago. We recall that from previous seasons, and they did okay for us. And in fact, they have Championship Wrestling from Hollywood on there right now. But for what we need, Fox Sports is very small, right? And I don't know what they would even be willing to offer us. But we would want a late evening show or something like that. We would have to pay for that deal. That's nutty. We would want a higher income bracket, a higher time slot. Something right now we're really not going to find very much of. Like looking at these breakdowns, we could get a little bit nominal percentage. Right now, I feel like we're in a spot where it's not the ideal company, but it's okay. We also kind of want a deal at some point for Circle Squared. But right now, we are not the size that we could run it. Which is really wild because even something like YouTube won't let us run it, which is a shame because it would be nice to have a B show that really is just about building up our roster. Just giving them some popularity, giving them a little bit of a boost would be super helpful, but not really possible right now. Okay, we got 4 days. Let's go ahead. Let's sim on over to our next episode of Power and work on it from there. All right, everybody. We are back for our show. We do have some backstage incidents that we're going to have to deal with. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we have going on. Nothing really. Wrestler's Court. Stallion Rogers brought before Wrestler's Court, accused of failing to pick up his share of the tab and for a car rental, and of course had to buy drinks for everyone. Good positive impact there. We're going to do an open forum. We're going to let everyone air their grievances. We have only a few. It will lower the morale in the locker room just a tad, but it will give them a minor boost. And I think it's worth it because right now we're probably sitting at pretty close to 100 in our locker room boost and our backstage rating. Yeah, we're at 100%. Honestly, it's very hard to get lower than this in this version of the game. Something I hope maybe it's just the mods, but it feels like it's very rare to see it below 90. So, for the most part, we're okay. We're not going to have major issues from the locker room. Airing the grievances is not a big deal. We are going to be in the Southeast. We're going to go to our sound stage. We're expecting 678 fans, which is really solid for a Power. So we will head there. We have the capacity for 850 there, which is great. So we have a show to put on. It should be pretty good, I think. We have some storylines that continue to move along. We also have some new ones that we're going to have to start to develop. We don't have time yet to work on our Crockett Cup. We're still waiting for some of those signings to come into play. But let's go ahead and let's see what the next episode of Power has in store for us. And I'll catch you guys on the flip. All right, everybody, let's get on with our show. We got full 95 minutes in the bag. Some storyline stuff building up here. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at what we have in store for our episode of Power. We start off the show with a follow-up to the conclusion of Down But Not Out, where Ace Austin and Ron Killings had a tie, essentially, a double pinfall. Austin comes out to start the show, cutting a promo about the shoddy finish, calls the refereeing work poor, says it's bad adjudication. It was clear that he was supposed to win, and he still is champion, but he's upset about the shoddy work that the NWA has gone through here. This brings out Ron Killings, who obviously feels like he was also the winner and also had basically had everything stolen from him. The two have an exchange of words, and Ron ends up saying that Ace had to throw everything at him, but all he could muster is just a tie. And that's because he's never really had any challenge in his life that was real. He's had a life that's been coddled. He's never had a struggle. He's never had to work or earn anything. And Ron is the real deal. He's not a joke. And he's also not alone anymore. Ace Austin's numbers don't matter. His cronies don't matter because he's got the backing of family. And he wants a match tonight, group versus group, while the back office decides how to solve this tie. So, Ron's feeling confident here, right? And we got to start a show off with a strong start. We know our main event's going to be a 3-on-3 Smoking Aces versus Ron Killings and the family. We got 66 for this. Very good start of the show. We have a women's division match with Athena versus Sonya. It's all right. It's a 5-minute quickie match. Athena has a 55. Sonya has a 42. Ends up with a 40, which is not great, but it's for a 5-minute match. It's not horrible. Get a win for Athena as we try to build her up as a credible competitor going into the main event scene. Of course, we have after that interesting exchange between Ricky Starks and Brian Pillman Jr. Ricky Starks is sort of Jeff Jarrett's new golden boy. And even though he lost his next-gen title shot here, clearly he's not as good as he thinks he is, right? But Pillman has had him in his sight for a while. Starks obviously betrayed him. He's still pissed off about that. And Pillman comes out to challenge Starks for a match. And he issues some words here. He says that Ricky Starks thinks he's the face of the revolution, but really he's just another puppet. And he's been there. He knows what that's like. He knows Ricky Starks is more than that, but he's taking the easy road out. But Starks says, ends up coming out, and he says, I'm not a puppet, but I am an opportunist. And power ultimately respects power, and I'll do what I need to get to the top. And I'll align myself with anybody that I think can give me an advantage. And as he says that, Pentagon Jr. emerges behind Pillman Jr. and attacks him. An uneasy, bizarre alliance between Pentagon and Ricky Starks clearly has formed. And Pillman is on the ground, and Starks leans over him and says, if you want a match, find a friend, if you have any left. And Pentagon and Starks walk away. Pillman, obviously seemingly very alone, got the crowd hotter again. Very weird alliance here, but it gives Pentagon something to do for a bit, and we continue to build the story between the two of these guys here. Mickie James comes out as our champion, says that she is unstoppable. She's holding both the Knockouts Championship and NWA Women's Championship, and she offers a 10-minute challenge for anyone that is willing to face her, kind of pulling a little bit of a Serena Deeb from AEW, so we give an opportunity to maybe throw a bunch of different women wrestlers that are out there at her, as we continue to build up maybe Athena, maybe Ramona Riot for a rematch, that kind of thing. So this sort of the goal here is we're going to try to see if we can find some talent to help boost up our women's division a bit. We start off, though, with someone we do have, which I think would be a good rub here. So I wanted to kind of build up Delilah Doom a little bit. Ultimately, Mickie James does defeat Delilah, but hopefully the match gives Delilah a bit of a popularity boost. She's going against the women's champion. Mickie has a 53. Delilah has a 27. Ends up with a match that's a 44, which is very good, considering all things considered here. Backstage, we have Jeff Jarrett, who on the phone with someone, and they're clearly frustrated. For this is likely having to do with some of the chaos that happened at the pay-per-view, the bungling of the pay-per-view actual showing, the tie that ended up happening that left a unsatisfied resolution. And he is talking to the investors. Remember, he has majority stake, but he's still beholden to the board, who we've known in the past have gotten involved. There's a lot of people, a lot of old money in the NWA, and a lot of weird people that could show up that have a stake in the company. So Jarrett knows this, and he's trying to play the game. He knows that at any point the board could decide to put all their money on a new pony, so to speak, and find somebody else to replace him. And he's trying to dance around things. Everything's fine here. No, it's fine. Listen, Corgan's away. I'm in charge. Being run fine. Everything's good. No. Yes, I know, but trust me. Everything's under control. All right, so we could start to merchandise again. We got good movement going on. I got a new great candidate for our face. And I'm about to start our NWA NFTs. That'll be announced soon. No, it's fine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, bye. Jarrett sighs and leans back in a chair. He's looking stressed. Clearly there's pressure from the board. They're not thrilled with him. And that makes Jarrett, of course, dangerous, because He's not going to allow anything that uproots his control, his order, from jeopardizing his spot. And we have a taste of maybe what will come as Jarrett becomes unhinged and the board loses faith in him. We'll have to see what happens. We have That's Not Right. EC3. It's supposed to be Ezekiel Crowley. Well, that's weird. Tommy End is played by Ethan Carter III. Thankfully, though, EC3's essential character gimmick got a very good rating. So ignore that. Put a little duct tape on that there. Ezekiel Crowley sits cross-legged with a microphone staring out into the crowd. He says, "Do not think I have come to abolish the law of the prophets. I did not come to abolish, but to fulfill. Years ago, a prophet left his mark in this ring. He spoke of a coming darkness and a light that will shine through the darkness. That strength was needed to overcome the growing abyss. I am not that light. The light has faded into embers. I am the darkness that consumed it. I have seen beyond the twilight veil. I have seen what malformed monstrosities lie beyond that we call old gods, and I have been changed. You can be too. I am not here to sermonize or provide precognition. I am not a charlatan or a mystic or a magician. I am here to deliver the world unwound and rebuilt in that shroud of darkness, a paradise of pain and flesh and violence for those who are worthy. It will be subjugate and subjugators. So step forth if you are worthy to join this dark paradise. Or step forth if you are trying to stop me. And I will show you the power that has yet to truly pass." A cryptic message from an unhinged man, apparently played by EC3. But Ezekiel Crowley offers a challenge, saying that there is a darkness, obviously hinting about our cult of Josephus from years ago. Josephus unfortunately passed away, and we had to kind of retire that. But he's hinting that he's sort of the counterpart to that. The darkness that he said he was trying to push away. He seems to be looking for people willing to join his flock in a weird way, to sort of set up this weird, twisted paradise of pain worship to old gods. So very kind of Lovecraftian element here. The cryptic message does bring out Dickie Mayer, poor jobber, who comes out to challenge him to fight for the side of good. The poor man did not stand a chance, though. In 6 minutes, Crowley defeats him with pinfall. Crowley has a 68. Dickie Mayer had a 28. Fruitless endeavors, of course, continuing with the storyline. And Ezekiel Crowley looking very good out there as he begins to form this worship of the darkness of chaos, of beyond that twilight veil. We'll have to see what Crowley has in store. He lied, though. He says he's not mystical, but we know he zapped away Bo Dallas, right? The false prophet. The two of them, if you recall from the last season, had uncovered some type of bizarre mysticism, and it unlocked a power in Crowley, and he wants to bring it upon the world, and he seems to be looking for followers to help him, and obviously people are willing to try to stop him. Unfortunately, Dickie Mayer does not stop him. Speaking of cryptic threats, we get one from Eric Young, who had a vignette with his new group Insanity at Down But Not Out. Oddly kind of similar in a weird way, but maybe less metaphysical he talks a lot about chaos in this message as his cronies stand behind him ominously, dressed up in sort of anarchistic garb, looking like they're ready to hit the streets and riot. And he goes, "We live in chaotic times. Times where the forces of order try to hold on. Hold on to despotic means of power. The leaders of the NWA embody a problem emblematic of society as a whole. It's fractured, polarized, and wildly divided. Divided by a few desperate old members of power, clutching and clawing at the last forms of old hierarchy in order to maintain control, maintain order. But order isn't natural. It's imposed upon others through force, through violence. It's time to show the world that entropy is impossible to remove, only delay. Time to show the world that time does to all men who lord over others and impose their will. We will start in the NWA, but we will not end there. It's time to show the world a little insanity." So Eric Young out there weirdly has a similar message to Crowley, and we kind of have to wonder if these two groups will join forces at some point. Let me know what you think about that. But Young apparently has kind of this anarchistic look that basically NWA represents a hierarchical structure of the old ways, and he wants to sort of bring about chaos and anarchy to the NWA to break up that hierarchy. It's interesting because you have to wonder if Jeff Jarrett is in the crosshairs there or something else, but definitely seems like a threat. We haven't seen them in action yet, but clearly they are hijacking the NWA's messaging and are threatening it. But, the thing is, if they're against hierarchy, that means that anybody that's a title holder or, anybody that's in a position of power in the company could potentially be in their crosshairs as symbols of sort of that old way, that old sense of order. So an ominous threat, but one that has to be taken seriously in the coming weeks, as we have yet to see what insanity really is capable of. And we have Ricky Starks, Pentagon Jr., who come out and, are lauding over Pillman Jr., who does not have an ally until Nick Aldis's music hits. And we find a very bizarre alliance where Nick Aldis comes in and has agreed to help Pillman Jr. out. The two had been pretty bitter rivals for a point. But we see that Aldis is here to assist. And ultimately, Pillman Jr. is able to defeat Ricky Starks as Pentagon Jr. Pillman actually defeats and pins Ricky Starks, gets a tornado DDT. The match is pretty good. We gain heat for the story, got the crowd buzzing. All very good. And in our main event, we have Smoking Aces versus Ron Killings and Outlaw Inc., or The Family, Kingston's Kingdom. Now much smaller after it had crumbled, but still united with Ron Killings here. And Killings ends up defeating the Smoking Aces, ends up cornering Zicky Dice, and gives him a what's up. And overall, match is pretty good. It's a 62. And clearly we're leading towards a rematch between Ace Austin and Ron Killings as things continue to heat up here. Overall, a 60 is a fantastic rating for this show. And overall, I'm very pleased. Almost everything's in the green, which is what we want. Even the weakest match, which was Athena versus Sonya, still in the green. As long as we're in the green, I'm pretty happy, but definitely I would love to get 60s or higher all the time. That's going to be huge for our momentum. We had 757 people in the arena, so we are a little less than 100 shy from actually tapping out and selling out the soundstage. Very good momentum, and that's including knowing that we got a 2% or 3% penalty from our production value. Very good show. All right, let's see what we got on here. Power 0.10, very good for where we are at. Overall, pretty damn good show. Feedback was that it was awesome. Which is definitely what you like to see. Eric Young giving pointers, saying Sonia's a great talker. We should give her some time to talk. Which I agree. We probably should at some point maybe move her even maybe to a managerial role. Obviously, our storyline with Mickie James at this point is about maybe looking for some talent to help boost up the women's division here. Deanna Perusa, pregnant, going to be leaving for a little bit, so we need some extra talent. Not a big deal. We could always take extra talent. So yeah, that's definitely the goal there for us. For terms of finances, we are 33 in the hole at the start of the month, but we should be able to make that up pretty quickly, especially with a monthly pay-per-view. So overall, I think financially we're going to be okay. We do have a bit of a war chest, so if we need to develop that, we have the ability to kind of invest a little bit. And then we also have to look at our alliances. Obviously, we have sort of this weird, disparate group. We've shrunk our alliance, but right now we have no titles. And we have to talk about what we want to do with the titles. We went a little out of control, I think, in the last episode or last season with like a title for every thing, and I don't think we need that. But we might want one alliance title to share amongst the whole group. Right now, we're a titleless, and we are just kind of working as sort of this consortium of talent that are kind of sharing our peaks and valleys and losses together. So we do, when we look for a new member, we really have to be careful about who we take, and maybe not someone that's 1,400 in the hole, or 14 million in the hole, or 1.4 million. 14 million in the hole would be insane. But we want to look at, people that we think could be a benefit to us that, maybe like a Defy Wrestling wouldn't be a bad option. But also we want to look for companies that maybe are a little bit larger. There's not a lot, unfortunately, in the landscape here, especially in the save, that are going to be large enough to be beneficial. And obviously we want to kind of maybe gobble up some of the American companies to kind of put them in the NWA brand. So something we have to look at as we go forward of where exactly we want to go with the alliance. For now, it's a tight one. It's smaller, but it's safe. It's good. We have to be careful because our prestiges and momentum will affect each other. So if we pick the wrong person, it could be potentially catastrophic for us. All right, guys, that was it for Power. Thank you all for joining me. I'll see you next time for another episode. Thanks, guys.